Chapter 9, Learning, Memory, and Product Positioning. This opening vignette is about repositioning, about taking mackerel, an inexpensive, unwanted, gross kind of fish, and turning it into a premium product worth six times the amount. Re-educating people. So, re-educating people folds in with learning, what they learn, how they remember it. Consumer behavior is learned behavior. You have to help them learn new things or maybe unlearn and learn new things. So there's short-term and long-term. Short-term is about 3.7 seconds. You know, the phone number has 7 digits because that was an optimum number of points people could remember, but when you can make mnemonics, it's a lot easier to remember and saves time in your brain. When you introduce something new, you need positive associations with things people already understand, so that they can understand your new product and see how it improves the experience with their old products. So this is an example of one that does that. Elaborative activities in short-term memory. This is where you add to what you already know. You have information in your head and you learn new information. Imagery is quite important, especially vivid images. They don't even have to be images you provide, but you can ask people to picture things, and the images they put in their own heads are sometimes quite powerful. Long-term memory. This is what you feel about things because of things you've learned over a long period of time. Episodic memory is about some event you went to that was maybe one time. This is homework, so I'm not going to speak about this. A schema is how you outline the knowledge structure, all the different things that are related to your product and the things that people can believe about it. The schematic memory is the same as the brand image. It's really your promise. All these things that people believe about you need to be true. Marketers spend an enormous effort attempting to develop strong, easily activated links between their brands and desirable benefits, but they have to be true. Your brand is your promise. When you can pull something right up in your mind when you first think about solving a problem, top of mind awareness is what you want. Top of mind awareness means that in the first thing you think of when you're researching, it's in your head. You don't even have to go out and start researching. It's something you already know about and one of the first things you remember, and that's the perfect spot to be in. High involvement learning is usually about things that cost a lot of money. Oh, here, explicit, that's what you do on purpose. This is what is unconscious. So high involvement usually means you're an expert, you care about it, it costs a lot of money, it's very important, there's some reason it matters to you, but often in marketing to consumers it's all about dollars. How much it's going to cost and how much it takes to make a decision in terms of what things cost. So this is aimed at somebody who's going to spend a lot of money, you're eliminating risk. This is aimed at somebody who's not going to spend a lot of money, so you're seeking an emotional response. Conditioning is trying to get you to associate things. Classical conditioning, they give you the stimulus and you give the response. That's the Pavlov dog thing. You want to give constant frequency or run a lot of ads so that people are conditioned to get this stimulus and make this response. Operant conditioning is where they make an action and you give them an outcome. You try to delight them and make them happy. So one way to use that in introducing new products is to give them free samples. The theory is they'll take a free sample, it doesn't cost them anything, maybe they'll try it. If they like it, they'll move up to buying one with the coupon you put in the package. And if they like it again, they might go in the store and just flat pay full price because they like it enough. So you have to give a lot of reinforcement, and they have to have a positive experience. Cognitive learning is about solving problems and coping with situations. Iconic is where you basically just pick up information and data, things you read, just rules you learn. It's often written down. Vicarious learning is where you watch other people. You see how other people handle things and do things, and you learn a lot from them. Analytical reasoning. This is where you use what you already know to try to solve a problem, but then you go ahead and associate new input and try to figure out how that can help you. So when you want to give something new, you have to make them re-examine their beliefs. So they talk about, this associates with this RoboVac. A lot of times this is kind of hard to understand with new products, so it's often very smart to use focus groups. A lot of big companies use them for everything to make sure they understand all the ways that people interact with their products. Stimulus discrimination means you have to stand out from all the other people. You have to have a unique selling point, something that makes you different from everybody else. And if you have brand equity. It means your promise for your brand means something to people. They trust your brand and they can go forward and buy your brand and extensions of your brand or things associated with your brand because they like you. Table 9.1 has all this stuff summarized. Learning, memory, and retrieval. Marketers want you to learn and remember. There's a little story here about when people cut their advertising, their sales go down. Well, that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? If 4 guys are advertising in about the same amount, and they each have a quarter of the share of voice, and then hard times come and 2 of them drop out, the last 2 have 50-50. It increases their share of voice, their influence, their awareness, their frequency, all that kind of stuff, and the other people lose money. It's always smart to plan for the long term so that you can stay on the air, stay in the media, stay wherever you need to be during the entire year. If you have seasonal ads, you need to plan them that way and buy as far out as you can so you get the best rate and you can afford to have ads for a long time. Okay, strength of learning. The stronger the original learning, the better, but it really matters how important something is to somebody. If it's not important to them, they're not going to do a lot about it. Message involvement. Sometimes you can hook somebody in with jingles, audio tags, different kinds of things. Also, smells are studied. Self-referencing means you always speak to consumers in terms of you. Never say our this, our that. Always say you. Mood. If you're going to run happy ads with a positive mood, you need to be in happy programs or happy media. Reinforcement is positive reinforcement. That means satisfaction is reality divided by expectations. If they expected one thing and you gave them more, they're more satisfied. If it doesn't do what you think it's going to do, if you don't meet your promise, you just make people unhappy and your product is going to have problems because you didn't meet your promises. People will, word of mouth, it'll run you down and people won't buy, they won't come back. It costs too much to create new customers. So repetition helps a lot. Obviously running 3 ads is better than running 1 ad. You're going to get a lot more feedback for that. Frequency matters. Most people will run in media, they'll have a 3, 6, 12 situation. They also, you'll get better rates, especially with a newspaper, because like you'll run an ad on in a week and it's a full page ad. If you run it again within the same week, it's half off. You run it that 3rd time, it's half off again. So you get a lot better deals when you cluster, or if you buy long term, because it's a lot cheaper to buy 12 than to buy 1 on a per basis. So you come out a lot better on that. Pulsing is where you really push it out fast so that you can get quick awareness. Awareness is often a primary goal of a new product, and then product trial is usually next. You always have to update your ads because if you run the same ad for too long, it drives people crazy. So most people make versions of ads or different little scenarios and things. Dual coding, that means you want to associate with things to help people remember things better. Lots of different themes and different kinds of images and things. Good product name. You can use celebrities. This chart, figure 9.9, this is a classic chart. It's been around since the 60s. The point of this is that if you spend all your money real fast and run out, at the end of the year nobody remembers you. If you start off, run an ad, and then people fall off, and run another ad, and a few remembered, and it falls off, and some more remembered, and you keep doing that, eventually it builds an awareness. So at the end of the year, the awareness is up here, which is basically about where these guys were here. So it's a matter of managing your resources based on what you're trying to do. Memory interference means that your competitors are all over you and people aren't paying attention to you. One trick is to advertise at the right time. Payday is an excellent time to advertise, so they've spent their money on you before they can spend their money on other people. So external retrieval cues, brand names are very important, but also when they get to the point of actually buying the product, they have to recognize that's the same product you've been advertising, so the packaging and everything else in the store has to kind of match and be integrated with your campaign, because that's your last 6 seconds to get somebody to act. So you need to make sure that your package, your brand, focuses on all parts of your campaign, including your packaging, so people know to see that and it triggers them. Your brand visual will trigger action in the store. Okay, brand image. These are all the memories of your brand, what they've learned about your brand, what they believe are the promises that you make, and if you always make them, it becomes your equity. Brand names have value, and they also cost more. They have more value, they cost more. They bring in more money, they have more money for marketing. More marketing creates more sales. It's a virtuous cycle. So you want to have a good, strong brand, because if you have a good, strong brand, you can build, and you can charge more. So, a product positioning. It's decision by a marketer to achieve a defined brand image relative to competition within a market segment. That means you need to be different, and you have to differentiate for sure. Some people mess that up when they try to reposition because they drift away from doing well. They try to go someplace else. It doesn't work. Domino's did a good job. There was a 30 minutes or it's free was one of their original strong product associations. A kid had a wreck that came to an end after a big lawsuit. A new agency came in and resurrected the equity of that by saying now you have 30 minutes and making it fun and positive. They've done a wonderful job on that. Domino's has now even gone forward and completely changed their product formulation to satisfy the target market better. So that's been good. Cranberry sauce, holiday thing, advertised different parts of the year, gets business. You can always reposition things and generate business. Focus groups are a great way to anticipate or test for consumer reactions. You don't want to go too far before you're positive, before you don't want to get too far. It can cost a whole lot of money to have to go out and start over. Perceptual mapping. If you have a master's degree, you must be able to make a perceptual map. Obviously, you guys are getting a scientific degree where you do lots and lots of data connection and measurement in order to manage. But in any event, this is the typical grid. You have opposite things. This is cool, this is not cool. This is expensive, this is not expensive. You can take any two dimensions and make a grid. So they come along in here and they identify all these different product segments, kind of group them together and figure out where they are on the map. Obviously, some places aren't attractive. You want to go to a place where you can make money. You probably want to go towards the expensive and the cooler. This would be the corner I'd be aiming for, up around in here. Okay, repositioning. Sometimes you have to change your product, just flat out change it. So they make the point here about Hardee's, had crummy little thin patties. They couldn't lie about them and make anybody believe anything different than the truth. So they actually threw them out and got a thick burger, and then they could advertise, we have big, thick Angus beef. And that was a big hit. Brand equity. It's what people believe. It's your reputation. It implies your economic value. You want to have a good brand to bring it to be able to price higher, have more money for marketing, and create that virtuous cycle of growth. A brand absolutely depends on customers who believe in them. They have a good experience, they become satisfied. They have many good experiences, they become loyal. They only become loyal because they got what they expected, plus some. You have to tell the truth. You must always advertise intrinsic truths, things that are always true no matter what, not operational truths that depend on people doing what you told them to do. You're always better off to tell the absolutely intrinsic truth. They make a funny point here about Campbell's couldn't move into spaghetti sauce because they think it was runny. They renamed it Prego. Prego is actually runny, but they repositioned it as an authentic product. Look up Malcolm Gladwell, spaghetti sauce TED Talks. You'll find the link. It's about 17 minutes. It's the story of this. It's fabulous. It's very interesting about going from aspirational sales to diversity sales, to make the products people want instead of just trying to make you want what rich people have, make you want what you want and give you lots and lots of different varieties. It's awesome. Art's very important in people's decision making, moods, emotions, stimuli. You can also make things look upscale with a lot of white space, certain kinds of design elements, ascribe different values to your product. Be sure and read these learning objectives at the end of the chapter. And that's the end of chapter 9.